Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you. So that's what we're talking about. We are coming up on Thanksgiving. 1 Thessalonians 5:16 says, "Be joyful always, give thanks in all circumstances." I don't argue with the Bible much. But I've had some circumstances that it did not feel right and proper to give thanks in. Anybody else? You've had that experience? I don't know about that. But I'm going to see if I can unlock some metaphysical truth for you about the meaning of that scripture in a moment. But first, we need to talk about Jack. You know Jack. Jack was late for a meeting, a very important meeting. He was running late. He had a lot of things on his plate. He may have been an Enneagram 3 like me. I don't know. But he began to pray because he couldn't find a parking space. He said, "God, if you will give me a parking space, I promise I will go to church every Sunday. And I promise that I will be grateful and thank you for every blessing in my life forever." And he comes around the corner, and lo and behold, right by the door, a parking space opened up. He said, "God, never mind, I found one." Yeah. Back to Thessalonians. Years ago, someone taught, and this is the way I've always taken this up, it doesn't say give thanks for every circumstance. The prepositions can sometimes be very important. Not giving thanks for it, giving thanks in it. And I understand that if you are going through a difficult time, if you're going through a time of grief and struggle, even that is a reach. And so the last thing I hope to do today in this teaching is make you feel like you're being corrected, because you're not. We did some great work. We had our board and our leadership retreat. The ministers and board were for 2 days. We did some deep work about our priorities and direction going forward. And we did this great work about tending to the soul of Unity of Houston. And we did this visioning work. What is the soul of Unity asking from each of us individually? And then we began to speak one word that came through that work. And as we were putting these words on the page, it was so beautiful. What was emerging I was really surprised that our engineer on the board, the word that came from him was magical. And these words like transformation, joy. Because let me tell you, your leadership we've been working. Not just in Unity of Houston, not just in the New Thought tradition, but in all religious and spiritual traditions, it's a tough time right now. That in this time of division and uncertainty, you would think that people would want to gather into spiritual community to be supported, but that's actually not what's happening. That people are staying away. And so some of the ways that we've done it in the past is not working. And so we've been trying new ideas, and we've all been working hard because we believe in this work, in this community, in this organization, this teaching so much. We've been working hard to keep it here, to keep the doors open, to keep it going, because we know the value of it. And as we did this work on Friday, I just felt like this lifting of the burden. Like, oh yeah. There's joy here. We're known for being a positive, possible teaching. And some of us have gotten burdened by the needs and the struggle. And I'll tell you, I've been walking a little lighter in my step since then. Remembering that there is a thing greater than me, greater than any of us individually, that we are contributing to and being lifted by, that we're just going to call the soul of unity. And it'll show us. It'll show us steps and programs and things to try and things to do. And we're in good hands because you have great leadership. You really do. You have wonderful leadership in this community. But there is a thing beyond us that is the idea in the mind of God that is Unity of Houston. And we're being lifted in this. And then as we're day 2 of the retreat, someone said, all of those wonderful, uplifting, sparkling was one of the words that came through about the soul of Houston. It feels good, but what about when people come here and they're going through a hard time? And I was talking to our facilitator after the session on Friday, who is my former minister and my mentor and prayer partner, Reverend Dr. Peter Weldis. And I said, what I feel is that we have matured enough to hold the possible and the magical and still be with people when they're struggling and even suffering. And I feel like that's the place we're being called to now. There's room for all of it here. And she said, you're right, Michael, and that is not easy, but you've got a beautiful soul to guide and lift you in that journey. So wherever you are, emotionally, on your spiritual path, the journey of life, which includes loss and grief and struggle for all of us. It may not be your turn in that, but some are going through that. So that's all to say. What I'm about to say is not a correction. It's an invitation. Let me tell you what happened last night. After this board retreat, and I had another meeting yesterday afternoon, I got home about 4 o'clock. I had not started sermon prep. I had food. I had vegetables that were going to go bad if I didn't cook them, and I wasn't going to have any other time. And I don't know about you, but I do not like to waste. So I thought I did a scan of my refrigerator and my time, and knowing I had to do sermon prep, and I came up with a meal plan and a way to do it, and I saw that I would be able to get everything done except for one pot, which would have to stay in the sink overnight because I wouldn't have the energy to clean that one. I had all, and that happened in a flash. I knew that. And so I got to it. Chopped those vegetables, got that ground chicken breast going because I'm doing a plan right now. And I was moving and I was stirring with the pot with one hand, and I pulled the door open to get a utensil I needed, and I shut the door, and I forgot an important step, which was to remove my hand from the drawer before I shut it. So I have a Band-Aid on this finger, but I'm going to hold up other ones around it so I don't do anything rude. And immediately, my plan came to a halt. And all of my attention went right here. And I covered it, as we do. And then I thought, the pain has not yet reached my brain. I don't know how bad this is. I better look at it to see. You know that? Like, I could feel the impact, but I did not feel the pain yet. And so I looked, and now don't get squeamish, but there was blood. And I thought, this is bad. And then I looked closer, and it's like, oh, it's not that bad. But then it started hurting. And so I had to go upstairs, and I got the alcohol, and I did that, and I put the Band-Aid on it, and then I came back down, and I finished my meal on time. Aren't we glad that all happened? I mean, come on. And it was great, and only 2 points on Weight Watchers for the main course. So I was thinking about that, and that very small example of the difficulties we go through in life. It became a teaching moment. It became a possibility for me to talk about the way that we can be going through something temporarily that is difficult and painful, but we can still find gratitude. So the first thing, I started doing that. Is like, well, I'm grateful that I have a home with a lovely kitchen where I can make my meals. I'm grateful I have the ability to buy good, healthy, nutritious food. I'm grateful I have the ability to cook that food and make meals that fit my plan, that help my body, and grateful that my body works, and if I can cook a meal. I'm starting to feel it, It's starting to work. This thing I'm teaching you, I was doing it, even though my fingers still hurt. And then I began to think, okay, and I'm so grateful I knew what to do. I've done this before. It's not the first time that I have slammed my finger in a drawer or a door. And I was prepared. I was grateful. I had the things I needed. I bought Band-Aids at Costco, and they were on sale 2 years ago, and I have enough for my entire neighborhood for 20 years. So I had everything I needed. And then it began to go a little deeper, and I thought, I'm grateful that I have got this miraculous body. This will be completely healed in a day or two, like it never happened. That's a miracle. And how much energy have I given to criticizing this body? A lot. And that has been my path, which I've shared here before, that this healing has been happening, that my job is to love this body as it ages. It's been profound. So I immediately got into gratitude for the body. Gratitude for having the opportunity to slam my finger in the drawer and be given a sermon illustration. Right there. Just on the day I needed to talk about giving thanks in all circumstances, I got a circumstance. Man, life is good to me. Did you get it, right? This is an attitudinal shift. I could have just been, now it's all ruined. I could have been, I can't believe this happened. I don't have time for this. Did anybody else get that? Like, you ever say that? I don't have time for this. You got all the time you're going to get for your life. You got plenty of time for everything. But it's in our mind, we think, this was not what I wanted to be doing right now. But what needs to be done right now is take care of it. I'm very careful about the way I'm showing you this. I just want you to know that. We always have time to do what needs doing if we're willing to shift our attitude. Set aside the things that may not be as important as we thought. Attend to the moment of your life. And gratitude is one of the quickest ways that we can begin to step into it differently. Here's one more trick about giving thanks in all circumstances. Maybe it's not clear yet what you're going to find here to be thankful for, but you still have something somewhere else in your life that is good, that is working, that is lifting you, feeding you, supporting you. Give thanks for that until you can find what's here. Give thanks. Now let's get to the metaphysics of it. This is why you come to Unity, right? And not some other churches. Because there is a spiritual power which we have access to through the power of thought, which moves divine creative energy into specific form to manifest and demonstrate a different reality. That's why we're here, right? That's why we come to Unity. That's why I came. I used to think that gratitude was something that I did because something happened. Somebody did something good to me, what do you say? Thank you. That's just manners. That's not metaphysics. It was in this teaching that I learned that gratitude can be an attitude, but even beyond that, we're going to go to the next level. Gratitude can be a causative force in your life. You don't like what's happening? Get into gratitude. This is the mystery in 1 Thessalonians 5 that is being revealed to us through the sacred text, that if you are in any circumstance, you want it to be better. If it's good, you want it to be gooder. If it's bad, you want it to be gooder. If it's best, you want it to be bester. If you want it to expand and uplift you, get into thanks. Gratitude is the energy that then what it does for us is this: it takes us off of the circumstance, it takes us off of the difficulty, off of the limitation, and moves us back to possibility, and then our mind and our heart at a new vibrational level. And there's this thing called the law of cause and effect, called the law of mind action, which is always responding and revealing back to us what we are holding in consciousness. And so if we begin to be at this level, good is mine. I am grateful. Michael Beckwith said it like this. The universe says, if you don't quit being grateful, I'm going to give you something great to be grateful for. I did that terribly. You remember when your mom used to say, if you don't quit crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about? The universe says just the opposite. If you don't quit being grateful, I'm going to give you something to be grateful for. This is the mystery of taking any circumstance in life and coming out of it better, freer. If we're willing to let go of our presupposed outcomes, if we're willing to shift our timelines and surrender into a greater good, that greater good will be revealed. It will be demonstrated in your life. And gratitude is one of the best ways to get out of the limited future that you've been holding for yourself. It's never going to get better than this. How many of you have the glory days syndrome? I remember when it was so good back then. I looked so good in that bikini. Or whatever your version, that's not mine. Whatever your version was of how good it was back then, but now I look ahead and it's just, Gratitude unlocks a future beyond your dreams, even if you're 99 and a half years old. Good is available. Greater good is coming. And if we are simply willing to give thanks in all circumstances, we put ourselves in the mode of receptivity. And the universe just says, yes, I recognize a place for good to come. It's right there. Here it comes. Get ready. We don't manifest what we want through this teaching and through the law of cause and effect, the law of mind action. We don't manifest what we want. We manifest what we are. Gratitude changes who and what we are. That we're not a complaining, resentful person. We are a grateful, expectant person. Thomas Troward, the wonderful English metaphysician and teacher who lived in India, was a judge there during colonial times. He studied the laws and the teachings in some of the Hindu and Vedic traditions, and that's where a lot of our teaching came from, is from him and others who studied the Eastern ways. And what he said was that our work is to create a space of cheerful expectancy instead of gloom and doom prognostication. You know we have an election next year, right? How many of us have been a little bit of gloom and doom? And what if we begin to hold the space of cheerful expectancy that God is being revealed here too? And there may be something for us to do about it. All right, next thing. So last thing I want to share with you. I want to read this. This is anonymous, so I always say this. And it's not me. If you erase all the mistakes of your past, you would also erase all the wisdom of your present. Remember the lesson and not the disappointment. When we go through difficult things, we're not always going to get to gratitude perfectly. We're not always going to do it right. We're going to make mistakes. But even those become part of our path of becoming and discovery. The last point I want to make here today is that the English translation of the Greek of 1 Thessalonians 5 says, give thanks in all circumstances. There are many, many scriptures in many traditions, but in the Bible particularly, that say, be thankful. And fewer that say, give thanks. And for my entire life, I thought they were saying the same thing. And it's only recently I've come to understand that those are two separate things. To be thankful, to be grateful is an attitude. It is a mental state, a mental and spiritual state, and it's important and it's good. But give thanks is an action. Now, it gets a little tricky in unity when we start talking about how we're going to give thanks to God, because most of us go back to the embedded theology of our childhood where we think God is a man who lives in the sky who's judging us. That's not what I'm talking about. But to give thanks for this life, that's what I was doing last night. I was grateful for this body. I'm giving thanks to life itself that has demonstrated, given me a physical body. And here's the other thing. If you still struggle with trying to give thanks to God, to Spirit, to universal creative power, how about the person in your family who did something nice for you? Is that your mom right there? I didn't know that, Elizabeth. Yes, I knew that. I knew that very well. Do you give your mom thanks? Do you thank her for being a good mom to you? Yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. So, right now, that's perfect cue, as a matter of fact. I'd like everyone to take out your phones, if you would. Seriously, if you have it handy, and I want you to find someone that you're going to give a text of gratitude to right now. Just do it. And all you have to do, whatever you want to say, I'm just going to pick somebody. I'm just going to say, so grateful for you. And just see what happens. This is spiritual practice through technology. And if you use voice to text, it's okay. There you go. We see our fast texters and I'm not going to say anything about age. Yeah. We're still working on that technology over there, aren't we? I like it. You got some help right there. How's that feel? May feel a little weird to be told by your minister to get your phone out and talk in church or to text in church. But you have just taken an action to move yourself into a greater experience of connection, of moving in alignment with the laws of life that bring more life and more good. And it can be that simple. So as we move into this week of Thanksgiving, between the pumpkin and pecan pie, pull out your phone, send a text. A chief block to being grateful is that we are focused on our lack. We're focused on what we're not getting from our husband or our wife. We're focused on what we're not getting from our work. We're focused on what we're not getting from that diet that said it was going to work in 2 weeks. We're focused on all the things that we're not having in our experience. Is that just me? Does anybody else do that sometimes, maybe, on an off day? We tend to fixate on what's not here. Deepak Chopra, in his really groundbreaking work, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, he writes about the law of giving. Practicing the law of giving is actually very simple. If you want joy, give joy to others. If you want love, learn to give love. If you want attention and appreciation, learn to give attention and appreciation. If you want material affluence, help others to become materially affluent. In fact, the easiest way to get what you want is to help others get what they want. Well, that's not what I thought was the way it worked. But it is. Because again, it takes us off of our focus on our lack and moves us into the possibility that we can help give. And here's the other thing. This is where it really, and we're just about ready, Gary, just me 1 second. I just thought of this. It wasn't even in my notes. It was in the recovery work that I'd done there where someone taught me that if I'm having a resentment against someone else, I should pray for them to get everything that I want. I know. That is like next level stuff right there. That if I'm, we don't teach revenge and retribution in Unity. I looked in all the books and it's not in there. But I will admit that sometimes I just want to see the law of cause and effect work on them because they're just, I want to see karma do what it does, for some people. Oh, it's just the law working in their life. It's not me wishing evil on anyone. Well, is it? But what about that practice? There's someone that we're having trouble with. Begin to pray for them. What do you want? You want to be free of that feeling. I pray that they're free. I want to have love in my life. They didn't give it to me in the way that I need it. I want now pray that they have love in their life exactly the way they want it. You willing to give it a try? See what happens? Text me and let me know how it goes. So the last thing I want to say, and you can move me into prayer now, Gary. This Thanksgiving could be the time of your life that you look back on and you would say, that's where my life was transformed. That was the moment that by giving thanks and being thankful, I moved myself to a new way of being in this life, of greater freedom, greater love, and greater abundance. And the feast is already set before you. It is your choice whether you take a seat at the table. Join me now in prayer. I am grateful. I'm so grateful for this teaching which has moved me out of my limited idea of what I thought I could be and what I thought life could be and who I thought God was. And it has moved me into this open, possible place where blessings can now occur and have occurred and are occurring in ways beyond anything I could have outlined or asked for. And I know that many in this prayer with me now have had that same experience. And so we now set our intention there, that we're going to remain in this wide open space of gratitude, of cheerful expectancy, of acknowledging the good that is already here and making space for greater good, not only for ourselves, but for our families, for our church, for our community, our city, our nation, our world. The good of God is already here. I am willing now to see it in greater and greater degree, to receive it, to live it in greater and greater degree. So I do give thanks for this time, this prayer, this knowing that we are being held and lifted by the good of God, and all is well, and so it is. Amen. I am so grateful for you. If no one has told you today that they love you, I love you. God bless you.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.